It starts right now. A Renewed Mind, hosted by Dr. H. Dante Duckett, pastor of New Kingdom Faith Christian Church. Position yourself right now to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, here's our host, Dr. H. Dante Duckett.
Hello, this is Dr. H. Dante Duckett, and you are here on another podcast of A Renewed Mind. Listen, you tuned in at the right time, the right place, and whatever podcast platform you decided to get on, you are in it and the right moment in your life. Listen, this is Dr. H. Dante Duckett again, and this is A Renewed Mind podcast, and I'm so excited again to have you with me as we take another deep dive into the power of a renewed mind. There's so many great things that we've been discussing these past weeks, this past year actually, as it relates to a renewed mind. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome to the podcast. If you're not new, but you've been here and listening to me for a while, make sure you know the drill. Share this podcast with as many friends as you have. Let them know about a Renewed Mind podcast. If they want to be whole, if they want to live their best life right now, you need to be on this podcast. You need to be listening to this podcast each and every single week, because I'm here to tell you that in order to start living your best life right now, in order for you to start living your best life right now, you need to start the process of renewing your mind. That's right. Start living your best life right now by renewing your mind. It starts with your mind. It starts with you allowing God to infiltrate your mind and allowing him to plant those seeds of hope, seeds of joy, in order for you to start living in life that he had planned for you. The enemy from the moment you were born has set up an opportunity, set up a plan to ensure you never get to the point where you start living your best life. He did everything he could to ensure, and is still doing it, to ensure you never reach that point in your life. But I'm here to tell you, since we've been able to, we started this podcast, and since we have begin charging everyone to begin renewing their mind on a daily basis, it has been, I'm telling you, a transformative season in so many I'm getting testimony after testimony on all the platforms that I'm on. If it's not the teaching, the preaching, if it's not the one-on-one counseling, and it all stems from me challenging and charging everyone in my space to begin the process of renewing your mind. You can no longer allow what used to hurt you. You can no longer allow what used to bind you. You can no longer allow what used to keep you bound to hold you back now. You have a right to start living your best life right now. I know I'm talking to somebody. I know I'm talking to somebody tonight. I don't know who it is, but you tell yourself, you look at yourself, you tell yourself, I deserve to live my best life right now. I deserve it. And not only do I deserve it, I'm going after it. Who is that for? Who is that for? It sounds like it's for somebody. I'm taking that advice myself, because I know I'm in that season to start living my best life, and I want to make sure that you go on the ride with me, but you live it in your own life, in your own life, in your own life. But for many of us, as we try to begin to live, start living your best life now, you got to make some decrees and some declarations in your life. And today, we're going to talk about, I may be down, but I'm not done. That's right. You may be in a season of your life where things may not be going the way you want them to be going. But today you're going to declare, I may be down, but I'm not done. God is not through with you yet, but you have to believe that he has something greater in store for you. But in order for you to get there, a renewed mind has to turn the key. It has to ignite the fire that's within you. It has to ignite the passion that you have to live in your best life. You have to declare it, regardless of what your situation, regardless of what your circumstances look like, regardless how you feel, regardless of who's there with you or who's not with you. You have to say it within yourself. I may be down, but I'm not done. I'm not done yet. I may have taken a hit, but I'm not done yet. This is why you don't judge individuals by what they're going through, because you don't know what they just came out of. They're down for a reason. They may have gotten hit with a haymaker from life that really wobbled them that they weren't expecting. I've been ministering to a homeless man, and I had an opportunity. Let me share this with you. Just last week, I had an opportunity to take him to his primary care doctor and allow him to get a checkup. And then we went to one of our food drops, and he participated in our food drop. And then we went to the back into our warehouse, and we was able to get him some food. And then I took him back home. Typically, I'll pick him up from a restaurant. But I didn't pick him up from a restaurant. I wanted him to take me to where he stayed. So he took me to where he stayed, where he lives. Literally lives in the woods with a tent as his home. It's the only thing. He has a chair and a tent and a cooler. And this is where he stays. He doesn't even have a mattress for the ground. He sleeps on the ground. And God sent me in his life to tell him you're going to start living your best life right now. So many things happen in his life. If you saw him and you heard his story, you wouldn't judge him the way you saw it when you saw him. And the question is, how did he get that way? And God said, you know what? It doesn't matter how he got here. I sent you there to help him. You are the help he's been praying for. And you cannot refuse to answer the call to this assignment. Let me help you. When you start renewing your mind, you start answering the assignments God gave you. God has given you an assignment, and typically that assignment requires you to be assigned to someone else to help them to get out of what they're dealing with, or to help them to start living their best life despite the circumstances they're in. But many of us, we refuse to answer the call to our assignment. Now many persons have no one who will hang in there with them. There are folk in here, there are folk in your life right now. On the surface, it looks like they're doing all right. But if you pull back the curtain of their life, they're struggling to make ends meet. They're barely keeping their head above water. They have to deal with the kids going to school in the pandemic. They have to take off from work because their kids' class has to quarantine. Circumstances beyond their control. And now many folk have to go to work, but they can't work and pay for childcare because the pandemic has forced everyone to raise their prices. Now you can't afford what you used to can afford. At the same time, because of circumstances beyond your control. You can be many folk, y'all can be on this call and y'all can be as spiritual as you want. But listen, but at some moment it could be you. Or look at this, it has been you, but you forgot. Don't forget where you came from. You didn't always have, listen to me, you didn't always have that car to drive. Listen, talk back to me, please. Listen to me, you didn't always have that car to drive. There was a time when you didn't know how you were going to make it through the day. But you have the testimony that declares you made it. You were down, but you didn't stay down. Even when it was circumstances beyond your control. Come on. Tell yourself, I may be down, but I'm not done. At any moment, God can shift your life. At any moment, God could shift my life into a gear I've been praying for. But how do you handle when you look back at your life and you realize that the reason you are down and or you are not living at your full potential is because of circumstances you did control? You put yourself in this position when the blame should be placed on the person you stare at in the mirror each day. It's at this moment you need to figure out, how did it all happen? We are in this start living your best life now season. Not to get a shout, but to reposition you for the shift that's about to happen at any moment. Therefore, the question has to ask and answered, how did you get here? Down but not done. The first thing you did was you miscalculated the value of your authenticity. You miscalculated it. For too long you tried to be someone you're not because you thought that you thought you had to be someone else. So what you did, you cloaked the authentic you only to become something you thought everyone would like. Not realizing that your personal appraised value of your authentic self is beyond what folk could afford. They really can't afford the real you, but because you constantly miscalculated your value, you consistently find yourself in situations that is below who you really are. You below who you really are worth. You are worth too much to allow folk to handle you the way they do. The authentic you, listen to me here as I'm talking to you, when displayed and is functioning at its capacity, has limitless range, and the devil knows this, which is why he continues to surround you with folk who say they have your best interest but lack the necessary skill set to encourage you to unveil the authentic you. And it's really not their fault, because they don't even know who they are. So how could they know who you are? So the first reason you put yourself in a situation that has you in a down position is because you miscalculated the value of the authentic you. And the second thing I need to tell you, listen to me, you mishandle your appropriated portion of free will. You mishandle your appropriated portion of free will. What are you saying, Pastor? You didn't know how to handle the freedom of being able to make your own decisions. God has given each of us free will in order to make our own decisions. Adam mishandled his appropriated portion of free will. Moses mishandled his appropriated portion of free will. David mishandled his most appropriated portion of it. We all have mishandled our portion of free will by making just flat out dumb decisions. My God, free will we love that is available, but if we could be honest, it's the reason we are in the down position in areas of our life right now. We have not learned how to count the cost before we make the decisions we are making. We fail to look beyond the moment only to reap the consequences of yet another dumb decision. We miscalculated the value of our authenticity. We mishandled our appropriated portion of free will. And lastly, let me tell you, we mismanaged our spiritual assigned eternal assets. That's good right there. We mismanage our spiritually assigned eternal assets. What assets are you speaking of? The one you use when your back is up against the wall versus ensuring it's used in every situation. That prayer life you find when all hell has broke loose. That level of worship you go into when no one is watching because you need God to move on your behalf. All of these spiritual assigned eternal assets you conveniently place on the shelf because you believe they should only be used when the moment requires it. Has you in the down position. That prayer life you find when all hell has broke loose. That level of worship you go into when no one is watching because you need God to move on your behalf. All of these spiritually assigned eternal assets you conveniently place on the shelf because you believe they should only be used when the moment requires them. Has you in the down position. If I knew, come on somebody, if we knew what we knew now when I was in my mid-30s, if I knew that it was a certain type of prayer, not that prayer you think you should have, the one you want, you think impresses folk. I'm speaking of the prayer that has you sitting and listening more than you talking. That type of prayer would have kept me from sabotaging my own blessings. I would have used that type of prayer throughout the day. There is a way you can pray without ceasing. There's a way for you to be able to handle the evil that tries to attack you without losing yourself in the process or coming out of character. There's a way you can operate with absolute obedience and not worry about the friends you will lose. And all that happens with you when you manage the spiritual internal assets God imparted in you. Are you listening to me? You learn how not to miscalculate, you learn how to not mishandle, and you learn how to not mismanage when you renew your mind, when you allow your mind to be renewed, because all of our lives we miscalculated who we really are. All of our lives we mismanaged, we mishandled our anointing, we mismanaged our spiritual assets, we mishandled so many things in our life because we didn't begin or start or continue the process of renewing our mind. And that's what we need to be at right now. For us to start living our best life, despite all the stuff that has happened, despite all the things that we've come through, despite all the things that we visually see in our mind that is contrary to what God has shared with us, we still have the opportunity to live our best life, start living our best life right now. This is where we are. We've mismanaged. That's what brings us out of character. There's a way you can operate with absolute obedience and not worry about the friends you're going to lose. As I said, all of this happens, y'all, when we manage the spiritual eternal assets God imparted. This is so good because the authentic you is with the authentic you is with gifts and talents that have been waiting to be exposed. The authentic you is waiting with gifts and talents that is waiting to be exposed. The authentic you has gifts and talents that is waiting to be exposed. But despite us miscalculating the value of our authentic self, mishandling our appropriated portion of free will, and mismanaging our spiritual assigned assets, God has not given up on us. He has not turned his back on us. In fact, he's paying more attention to us. The scripture says God doesn't come and go, God lasts. The last thing you need to worry about is if God will show up. This is good. Who is this for? The last thing you need to worry about is if God will show up. Everything about God says he lasts. Listen to me. You don't need to worry about if he's going to show up. He doesn't get tired. He doesn't get tired. He doesn't pause to catch his breath. He energizes those who get tired. What I've discovered is folk who are trying to do better, but they use so much energy just trying to get their head above water. When they are at the point about to reach that point, they lose. It says even the youth grow weary. It's hard out here to come back because in the season you're trying to scratch your way up. You're trying to get yourself back to the top. You're trying to get your head above water. You are so exhausted from that climb, from trying to get back. You don't have the strength to move forward. But the scripture that I read says even the youth grow weary. It's hard out here to come back. But you said out of your mouth, and I need you to hear it again. You said it, I may be down, but I'm not done. Because at any moment God can move. It's those who wait upon the Lord who have the power to do these 5 things. Listen to me. Those that wait upon the Lord are able to do these 5 things. And this is going to help you in this podcast. I hope you write them down. Listen to me. First thing you got to do is you got to seize the opportunity to press your way through. How? Because listen to me. You renewed your mind. And you renewed your strength. The first time I ran a 5K, around the second mile, I hit a wall. Everything in my body told me to stop. My lungs felt like it was about to come out of my chest. My legs felt like lead. My arms felt like 20-pound weights was on it. And I didn't want to move. I didn't want to continue. Everything in my body told me to stop and start walking. My legs, I said it felt like bricks were attached to them. My arms felt like, I'm telling you, weights were just hanging on them. But all of a sudden, something kicked in. I remember someone saying, just keep going, because you're going to get your second wind. And it happened when I needed it the most. I'm here to tell somebody that's listening to this podcast, he will renew your strength when you need it the most. Right when you didn't think you had anything left to give, he's going to renew your strength. So when that feeling comes over you, that is telling you this is the perfect time to quit, seize the opportunity to press your way through. I don't know who I'm talking to on this call, on this podcast tonight, but it's time to seize the moment to declare, I can't quit now. I have to press because he's renewing my strength. The second thing, I said you got to seize it, the moment. Second thing is you got to harmonize his plans with your purpose. Harmonize his plans with your purpose. They mount up with wings as eagles. The only way this happens is when your plans have harmonized with his purpose for your life. The root word of harmonize is the word harmony, which means the combination of simultaneously sounded musical notes to produce chords and chord progressions, having a pleasing effect. In most cases, especially for a praise team, they will prefer what they call at least a three-part harmony, soprano, alto, and tenor. When Jesus was baptized, there was a three-part harmony that went into effect. When John declared he saw the Spirit descend on Jesus like a dove, and God the Father declared that this is my Son in whom I'm well pleased, the three-part harmony of the kingdom came. But in many songs, one section has to carry the melody. In most cases, the alto section will carry the melody, and that means a sequence of single notes. God's purpose and your plan must harmonize to create a melody. The definition I've read stated that the melody is the principal part in harmonized music. Listen, the only way you can mount up on wings as an eagle is you must harmonize your plans with his purpose. That's so good. I hope somebody got that. Not only do you need to seize the moment, harmonize his plans with your purpose, you need to initiate takeoff procedures. Oh, this is good. This is good. I'm about to lose it. Listen, let me make sure before I go into this next point. Listen, you're listening to a Renewed Mind podcast. I am your host, Dr. H. Dante Duckett. My producer, Dr. Jerry Boyce, he's in the studio right now. I'm thanking him. Everybody give a shout out to Dr. Jerry Boyce. Listen, if you want to make sure you listen to you want to download all of my podcasts, go to Apple Podcasts, type in my name, search my name, Dr. Dante Duckett, or you can type in a Renewed Mind and my podcast will come up. Make sure you download all my podcasts, or you can go on to pray.com, that's pray.com, and you can download my podcast from there, Spotify, all the iHeartRadio, all the podcast platforms. I'm on there, and I want to make sure that you get access to every last one of them. But let me take you to that third point. Initiate takeoff procedures. Listen to me. I'm about to lose it. All flight systems must be checked before the pilot even tries to taxi onto the runway. There are specific steps, there are very specific procedures that must be followed in sequence before the plane is prepared to take off. And at the end, the pilot will declare all flight systems have been checked. This is only for the folk who recognize I may be down, but I'm in position to initiate takeoff procedures. Come on, somebody get this, please. Somebody get this, please. You may be down, but at least you're in position for takeoff procedures. All flight systems have been checked. Your helmet of salvation is on, check. The belt of truth is on, check. The breastplate of righteousness is on, check. The shoes of the gospel of peace, check. The shield of faith, check. The sword of the spirit, check. All of your flight systems have been checked. So it's now time for you to initiate takeoff procedures. Come on, somebody, come in here. Everything that needed to be done has been done. Because you may be down, but you're in position to initiate takeoff procedures. So not only are you in the position to initiate takeoff procedures, it's time for you to focus on your prophesied place. This is really, really good tonight. You have to focus on your prophesied place. You've checked all of your systems. Now it's time to focus on where you are going. Not where you've come from, but where you are going. At this moment, you must know where you are going, because you can no longer waste time going to a place you have not been called to. You see yourself here, but in your mind, God has revealed where you've been called. I'm here, but I've been called to go there. You must focus on your prophesied place and get there. The place that will allow you to spread your wings as an eagle, to have you, listen to me, the fifth one, to transcend the natural into the supernatural. All right, I'm giving it to you again, y'all. Okay, you got to seize the moment. You got to harmonize his plans with your purpose. You have to initiate takeoff procedures. You have to focus on your prophesied place. And then the T, you got to transcend the natural into the supernatural, which means you have been given the authority to move beyond the natural realm into the supernatural. Listen to me, everybody that's watching this podcast, A Renewed Mind. Listen to what I'm telling you. If you look at that word, all 5 of those words, the first letter of each one of those words spells the word shift. Everybody that's listening to this podcast, and because you have taken the time out of your life to listen to this podcast that declares, I may be down, but I'm not done, God says it's time for you to shift. Woo! It's time for you to allow God to shift you into the position you've been called to go. Come on, help me here. Come on and help me here. It's time for you to understand that in the season that you're in, you need to shift out of where you think you're called to be and into where you know God called you to be. Somebody, I need you to write down the word shift. S-H-I-F-T. Shift into the gear. Whenever you are driving a stick shift at all, when you press that clutch down, then you can initiate the gear shifting mechanism. That clutch has to be engaged, and then you can flip it into the next gear. I'm not asking you to downshift. It's time for you to shift forward, because God telling me to tell you it's time for you to go to the next level in his assignment for your life. I'm not going to be with you long tonight. The next week will be a little bit longer, but this is the time for you to shift. You're no longer allowed to stay in this position, because it's time for you to start living your best life now. A renewed mind is always positioning itself to start living its best life. It's never satisfied. It will never settle. Come on, get this. All of my listeners, you're listening tonight. I know you're dealing with a struggle. I know circumstances beyond your control are trying to take over your life. But I'm here to tell you, you may be down, but you're not done. Get it tonight, today, this afternoon, whenever you're listening to this. You're not done. God is just giving you the opportunity to regroup, to reset, to recuperate, to be revived, to be restored. But you're not done. Get that tonight. You're not done. You may be down, but God says it's time to shift till I'm not done. Woo! That's good news right there today. That's good news today. That's good news. I may be down, but I'm shifting till I'm not done. I'm not going to allow what's supposed to kill me to take me out of the position God has given me to have in this season of my life. Listen, you've been listening to another podcast of A Renewed Mind. I am your host, Dr. H. Dante Duckett, and listen, you need to subscribe to my podcast. You need to go to pray.com. That's pray.com. Subscribe, Then you go in and download all of my podcasts. Search my name, Dante Duckett. Dante is spelled D-U-A-N-T-E, Duckett, D-U-C-K-E-T-T. Search search and download my podcast. And then make sure you share it with someone else so we can get these downloads up. Listen, I've been having some great testimonies on these podcasts, and I'm here to tell you it is for you to get, because God is positioning you to shift your life. You may be down, but you're not done. God bless you.
You have just been blessed by the transformational teaching of Dr. H. Dante Duckett. Tune in next time to another segment of A Renewed Mind.